Dun, 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 dun. All right. So this video is kind of a tutorial in a way, in a manner of speaking. Um, Mainly because I'm not really going to do much sculpting today. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this video, hopefully. So the whole purpose of it is to kind of show you how I plan when I'm working on something. It doesn't even have to be a large sculpt. It can be a small sculpt too. So when you're working on a sculpture and it's got a lot of detail and you've got these sort of broad open areas like this, what I have found is helpful to me is to, well, a couple things. You can sketch it out on a piece of paper. You can make a 3D model of it on a computer. Uh, and when I say sketch it out on paper, you can do a plan view, sort of a side view, three-quarter view, uh, maybe sketch out specific details like just the head or just how you want the foot or the hands to look or just the face. But when you've got something this large and you've already got a pretty large, basically a canvas here, what I have found sometimes works for me is to just draw right onto the sculpture itself. Now, there are a lot of materials that won't necessarily let you do that. Oil-based clays, it might be kind of a complex thing to do if you were trying to sketch. But I mean, even there, you can use sculpting tools like this to just put cross hatches or carve in what you want to put into the sculpture later. So this guy's got a lot of stuff going on in terms of some of the detail that he's going to have, and there are bits that I want to try to avoid messing up because they're pretty specific or characteristic of this particular creature. So I want to make sure I don't mess up the details. Like the number of scales it might have on the front of its face, or the shape of the scales, or where the dots, the little warts stop like this, the sort of round bits versus these sort of more chunky, rough chunks, these rocky bits here. Now I know these kind of cover the entire belly, and just we'll zoom in on so you can get a better look. So these little round deals, round things I'm showing you, look like little warts, kind of on like a toad or a frog or a fire-bellied toad or something. They kind of go up all the way up to about midway, almost more toward the top, and they kind of follow the center line of this guy. And I'll show you a picture of it. And then he's got more like this sort of rocky structure, and you'll see these sort of cross hatches in here. I'll show you what those pictures look like and what details I'm talking about here in a second. And what I'm basically going to do is just take my Sharpie and I'm just going to draw out kind of a rough sketch of where I'm going to put those details, both sculpturally and also when I paint it, to kind of give me an idea where stuff's going to be sitting. So let me bring up some images on my cheapo little pad here. And we'll go from there. Let me see. Like I said, I'm not going to really spend a whole lot of time on this. Just bringing it up right now. God, this pad is so old. It types so slow. Oh my God, here we go. All right, let me go to images. All right, perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So let's go with the side view stuff. There's some pretty decent references here. Let me see if I can find some good pictures. All right, so what we're looking at is a lot of this stuff here. Let's go with, I'm looking for a nice side view. This one's pretty good, but I've seen this one before, and it's kind of it's not, it is the model. I'm fairly convinced of that. But the way they've got it posed in this sort of like typical arm stretched out 3D model before they put the rigging in it, you know, I want to get something that's a little more natural looking. Maybe this one here. There we go. And let me save that as an image here. Actually, no, that one doesn't really show much. It's kind of hard to make out the lines. This is more difficult than I thought it was going to be. The trick with this is I'm trying to look for something that's always in motion in the game. It never really sits still unless it's like laying on its side waiting for death. And what I found is a lot of the pictures I've been using as a reference, I actually have to go into a YouTube video and freeze frame it, you know, basically pause the video when I see something. Oh, wait, that's something I need a detail for. Yeah, this one looks pretty good. I think I've used this one before, actually. So, I don't know if I can bring it up. There we go. All right, so these are some of the details I'm talking about. So we got all these big chunky layers of fat that I'm probably going to have to go back and put in here. But also he's got, you can sort of make out where the rocks start out on his jaws. Some more cheeky stuff up here on the side. So see, that was the mistake I made. I thought this stuff carried over all the way into the sort of the fatty tissue that goes around his cheeks. And what it looks like is, it just kind of, it starts almost like right here instead. And maybe there's a little bit more cheek I need to work on. So we're going to add that. And then I'm going to draw out where this little squiggly line starts. Oops. Helps if I don't keep pushing the image away. So we'll start on that. I think that's a good start, because I already see something I need to fix. So, and that's mainly the reason for this exercise, is just to kind of step back, take another look at it, and figure out where I've made some mistakes in it and where I need to fix those mistakes. All right, so let's put this over here so I can get kind of a reference for it. I don't really have a good place to put this thing. There we go. All right, just to give you an idea what I'm looking at. So again, I'm going to draw out all of this stuff that you're seeing here on the side of this guy here. Doop. So let's start with that. So let me get this kind of elevated a little bit. And all I'm going to do is just take a Sharpie and just kind of add where, and actually you can see, I don't know if you can see this. There's the crosshatch lines, and I might have to carve into that a little bit more. There's quite a few of them in this image. I don't know if you can make them out. Let me see if I can get a good shot of that. Maybe not with that light in the way. Yeah, it's harder to see actually. All right. Oh, anyway, let me show you what I do. It's exactly what I said I was going to do. Basically, I'm going to draw on this guy. So what I'm looking at is, it's pretty close. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm doing okay here with this stuff. I think maybe just kind of round this out a little bit more. And looks like the rocks really start right about here. And those are going to be like just little round, rough rocks all around his face. There we go. And then looks like I need more fat around this area. And some more fat around this area. And you can kind of see where I've already started that. There's some curves over here. I think probably a little bit of layer, another layer of fat over here. This is going to be kind of condensed into that. So some of this just needs to be more accentuated. And then what it looks like is that line that he's got coming up here starts just above the top of where that cross hatching is. So in other words, on this guy, it's going to be right about there. And it kind of looks like it just sort of follows a line this way across his back. So it looks like it's going to be like this. And then I think it just kind of follows that sort of line all the way up his tail. It looks like it kind of has this sort of little parabola pulse thing going on. It gets a little smaller. Right there, and then mostly the rocks. So then this is going to be this stuff. I have to build all these things out a little bit more. And it looks like his fire-bellied toad stuff starts right around here. Underneath his cheeks, or maybe sort of in line with his cheeks almost. More rock. Looks like all this stuff is all rock. And then he's going to have more of these little warts over here, which look like the warts kind of follow this little pattern over here with the layers of fat and come up and follow through the tail. I'll just do a bunch of these. Easier than drawing little circles. And he's pretty symmetrical, so I can probably get away with doing this. Helps if you're ambidextrous. Looks pretty good. And we got some little squiggles again. Kind of doing this bit. Looks like it maybe comes down a little bit further down here. Hard to draw when it's on a straight line. That looks pretty good. And then let's say there's some fat. There's some more fat, or at least there should be. He's got his belly fat coming up this way. And another layer of fat going over here, so we're gonna have to fix that. And then his stuff, I don't know if this is gonna be in the same place, more or less the same. We'll fix that part. His rocks are gonna start over here. And then some more fat around these little areas. All right, yeah. So that helps me, actually helps me quite a bit. Oh, that was a pretty precarious position anyway. So you can see I've already got some layers of this fat thing going on here. These big wrinkles up in here. Probably want to make sure I accentuate those a little bit more. Looks like he's got something like this going on. I think it was up to the leg, or below the leg. And then kind of along the side. Yeah. It looks like a lot of this goes all the way up here. All right. I'm just dropping stuff everywhere. That's why it's important to keep a nice, tidy workspace, kids. So you don't make the crazy mistakes that I continually make. Breaking all your stuff. There we go. Blade. Okay. So the next one is kind of all this stuff in the front. So let's take a look at his. His head has a lot going on. That's a good picture. Let's see what that looks like. Kind of blurry. Let's see if I can find one that's got better resolution. This one's from further away, but I think it's actually a better image. Ooh, that looks good. Is it? Yeah, this one looks, well, not super great, but. So, here again, let's see what we got going on here. I still don't like that picture. Maybe this one? Oh yeah, I like that. So he's got some kind of...
I don't know that.
I forgot that dumb Odexa was in here. His tongue's got something going on, so I need to work on that. Let's take a look at this guy's tongue. Say ah ah. So what I'm looking at is his tongue looks like it's got like these little patterns going on. He's got something going on like with little plates on his tongue too, just like the rest of his body. It's got some sort of scaly structure. Doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of, these are just sort of visual cues and reminders for me. Like, oh yeah, I need to add that, or I need to add this, because I will forget. I don't play the game. I'd love to. I need to download it. I have a Switch and I haven't even played any games on it. That's pretty sad, huh? Okay, yeah, so there's his little tonguey scales. And then he's going to have his teeth lined up here. And I'll line those up along his jawline. He's got two front teeth there. And then it looks like he's got something. There's a pattern to his scales on his mouth. Where is a good picture? I could probably just use a Molduga instead of a Molduking picture, because they're basically the same model. They just have a different color scheme, different skin on it. Ooh, that's a good one. Let me see if I can see that one. All right, so looks like you need some stuff here. And then he's got some kind of little plate structure here. I'm gonna have to smooth this out a little bit. And then he's got all the jagged stuff that kind of comes out this way. And that builds up a kind of like a little triangle there. And then he's got lots and lots of little rocks all over his head. Probably helps if I turn this. Lots of little textures all over this. Lots and lots. And then I think he's got like some stuff going on here too, which I want to have to fill in. There's lots of rocks around here. I mean, he's got this stuff's coming right up to his gum line. It's just all over. And I think this stuff, he even has some rocks kind of coming into this part. I want to say like all the way to here. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, everything else looks okay though. I think it's coming along pretty good. Looks like I'm gonna have to shave his tail down. His tail isn't quite fin shaped like this. So it looks like I'm probably gonna have to reduce this down and make these more spiky, which actually is okay, saves me on material a little bit to reduce this. I think this is something like more like that. That's good. Same thing here. I think this kind of does one of these bits. Yeah. Yeah, we'll fix that later. All right. So that's it. That's all it was. That's all I was going to do today. Is just do some squiggly lines all over this thing and kind of get an idea. I do remember there's a lot of rocks up here, so that's probably something I want to make a little reminder of. He's got a very rocky, rough texture all up here. And I'm pretty sure it goes all the way into this stuff I'm going to have to sculpt out. So just a kind of another note, I had to kind of switch my plan out. I was just going to use some foam clay to raise the fins all the way out, but the way these things are kind of not super stiff and flexible, this is going to come separated pretty easily. And my workaround for that, if I can find the pieces I cut out. Oh yeah, here's the teeth. Let me show you that first, actually. So what I'm going to do with the teeth. The way I'm approaching the teeth is like this. I made a bunch of big jagged teeth out of foam clay. They look like they're oversized. They're really not. I'm going to glue them in where they're supposed to go, all right? If I can get one in there. So let's get some light down there so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to glue them in like this. And then once they're in, uh-oh, lost one. Let me get another one right here. once they're in, this is a slightly smaller one, I'm going to build the gum. They're going to be glued down to the jawline, and then I'm going to sculpt the gum line around the teeth so the tips of them poke out. And that's why they're kind of a little bit bigger than they should be. And that's going to go for the top section too. So you're going to have two big teeth there, if I recall, like that. And then there's one big tooth in the middle. He's got 5 across and 5 back. So starting from this corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from this corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one on the corner is the end of that 5-tooth run on both sides. And I think he's got a couple of them doubled up that are real small right around here somewhere. Yeah, so there's that. Going back to the fins though. So my plan for the fins, I think it's a good plan. I think it'll work. I'm going to use this really thin stuff. Uh-oh, spilled some water. That's not good. Folks, try to keep your area clean when you're working on stuff. It'll save you a lot of trouble later down the road. So you don't make mistakes like me and spill things everywhere and break stuff that you worked on and knock things over and just be a general pest to yourself. All right, yeah, so I got this really thin, almost paper thin. I'd say about a 2 millimeter maybe. Really thin EVA foam. Stuff's pretty strong. And I'm going to cut it to just a slightly oversized shape of this right here. You can see I've already drew a line there previously. Let me see, right around there. So I drew kind of this curve here. And what I'm going to do is, I've already cut a couple of them. Cut this to a curved shape, right? And then that curved shape is going to sit in there like this. And it's going to have another one the same size glued all the way through and also slightly to the edges here. And that'll give me a nice strong bond for these little fins so they don't just tear out when my little nephew's playing with this thing, because that's what this is for. This is for a very small boy, and he's going to be roughhousing with it. Hopefully not too much, but you know, I've got to account for any possibility that it might fall apart. I don't want to drive 3 hours to where he lives to try to fix it. So yeah, that's going to be double glued with EVA foam. Then I'm going to go back and resculpt some more of these details in here after I'm sure that this is nice and secure. Yeah, maybe even raise these a little bit, add some bony texture. You can see where I've drawn in all of the other textures and features that I'm going to need to sculpt in here. And that's it. That's the bottom line. I just kind of drew out where I'm going to put stuff, things I need to accentuate a little bit, where certain stopping points are for certain types of details. And that's it. Like his face right there. But otherwise, he's really close to done. Really is. I can't wait to start painting him. The way I'm going to paint him, and I've probably mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. I think it's important, especially if you end up trying this yourself. If you're going to use the EVA foam and EVA foam clay, you really need to seal it with something, because as this dries, it becomes more brittle. It loses a lot of its elasticity. And if you're going to have somebody playing with it, this will literally crack. This stuff keeps it from cracking. It creates this really nice sort of thick, gooey gel primer surface. It seals this stuff so it doesn't dry out and stays flexible. And also you can paint on it pretty well. And what I do is I take this and I mix a base color with it. In this case, I'm going to mix a dark brown. So the entirety of this entire guy is going to be coated with this stuff, real thick, gooey stuff, in a sort of a dark, muddy brown. And then once that dries, I can go in and start airbrushing in or hand painting in some of the details. I probably will do a little bit of airbrushing on this guy just because he's so big. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out after all the detail gets added. There's still a few little spots on this comb that need to be fixed. This needs to be smoothed out so it's not that rough cut. You guys, if you've been watching, you might have recall this was bent down a little bit too much, and this was at a weird angle, and I was missing this detail of this sort of edge that it has. So yeah, he's almost done. 3 feet, 3 feet of Molduga. Yeah, and actually, funny story. This was originally going to be a Molduga, and then I guess Tears of the Kingdom, if you're familiar with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Nintendo Switch, they came out with the Tears of the Kingdom. I guess it's an expansion, or maybe another expansion, but regardless, they basically made another Molduga. So this guy was originally going to be brown. If you go online and search Molduga, you'll see this exact model, not this exact model, but a model of this guy in brown, which was the original color for the game. And then he said he wanted me to switch it up to a Molduking, which gave me a panic attack. I was like, what does that thing look like? Turns out it's exactly the same model, just a different paint job. And frankly, I kind of like the Molduking a lot better. If you haven't seen it, I'll show you a comparison real quick. This is, let's see here. Let me go back. So, for all you intrepid adventurers out there who are interested in seeing what these things look like out in the wild, let me go back. Sorry, I have a very slow old tablet from 1928. It's when they invented the tablet. I don't know if you know that. Holy moly. Respond. All right, so here's the Molduga now, or Molduking. This guy here. That's what we're currently working on. And you'll notice he's got this really cool sort of fire-bellied toad kind of camouflage thing going on with his belly. Very bright with a lot of blue. The original one looks like this. So there you go. And it looks like my time is up. Talk to you guys later.